Hi, I'd like to introduce to you Uber One Ride, the Innovation and Involvement Initiative. The overall objective of Uber One Ride is to foster innovation and introduce safe riding policy and legislation through the re-evaluation and realignment of internal management structure within Uber. Our new vision statement is to provide the safest, most reliable, and most cost-effective ride-sharing solution on the market today. Within this plan, we've analysed innovation, legislation, and managerial reform through change management theories, including the SWOT analysis, PESTEL analysis, and stakeholder analysis. Building on this analysis, the key themes and action points derived from the theories will be implemented through the following strategies: Lewin's process model of change, Galbraith's SNAP model, and Cotter's 8-step process. The key issues outlined in this initiative are the need for innovation, the introduction of protective legislation, and effective managerial reform. Firstly, innovation. Within the One Ride initiative, innovation is necessary to continue to create value that can be shared with others whilst developing a competitive advantage over original ways of conducting business. This is best described through Joseph Schumpter's creative destruction theory. Uber are familiar with this theory after disrupting the taxi industry. They were currently experiencing the opposing end of the process, with copycat companies undercutting Uber and attaining significant market share. This can be analysed through a SWOT analysis outlining Uber's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Firstly, strengths. Uber's strengths are that drivers receive more compensation in peak periods. Uber is the preferred platform for drivers in peak periods, and Uber retains more drivers in those peak periods. Weaknesses. Overpriced service pushes consumers away. Consumers are likely to use other ride-sharing platforms, and price surging gives competitors the ability to attain market share. The opportunities are that high pricing in peak periods generates a higher turnover. Price surging exploitation allows Uber to attain more drivers than competitors in peak periods. The threats Uber face are competitors taking market share, competitors offering consistent compensation to drivers, and competitors compensating drivers more on average than Uber. Next, we have legislation. Legislation is important as Uber required legislation to retain the market position and ensure the safety of their drivers and riders. We've analysed legislation through a PESTEL analysis. To better understand Uber's position as a company, this analyses the political, economic, social, cultural, technological, environmental, and legal components of Uber as a business. Politically, all Uber have to do is follow the geopolitical policies set out by the law. Economic. Uber need to take into account the economic growth according to labour cost and consumer spending. Social and cultural. Uber need to think about lifestyle choices, culture norms, and expectations of different population demographics around the world. Technological. Innovation in service to create security levels like speed dial and confidential identification. Environmental. Move towards sustainable income resource to follow corporate social responsibility and influence more riders. Legal. Complies with employment law, health and safety law, and consumer protection law to protect and grow Uber's reputation as a brand. Next is managerial reform. In order to restructure, you have to have a managerial reform, and that has to be effective. The effects on all stakeholders must be analysed. Therefore, we've analysed this component through a stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis are required to restructure management effectively. It outlines the stakeholder, their interest in the project, their potential impact, and potential strategies for obtaining support or reducing obstacles. Firstly is riders. They have a strong interest in the project and a strong impact. The best way to obtain support or reduce obstacles around drivers is to initiate an in-depth conversation between the company and its customers, and to create a continually open communication channel that will allow riders to let Uber know how they can improve and provide a better service. Investors. Their interest is moderate and their impact's moderate. However, you can obtain support or reduce obstacles with them through simply ensuring that they're included in company actions, as they have a mutual desire to see the company thrive, similar to employees. By involving investors, the company gains an invaluable global perspective of what Uber is, what it needs, and where it can improve. Thirdly, drivers. They've got a strong interest and a strong assessment. It's their primary source of income. So the best way to obtain support or reduce obstacles with drivers is literally just improve through actively communicating and engaging drivers. Also, Uber would benefit from further involving drivers in their business model through the following. They should involve drivers in company decisions, listen to their feedback, and enforce proactive policy to protect the drivers. Fourth, mobile operating system providers. They have a low interest in the project but a strong assessment. Without them, Uber doesn't exist. So therefore, collaboration is key. Mobile operating system providers are not dependent on Uber. Therefore, the establishment of key partnerships with providers provides security and efficiency for Uber's operations and overall service. Last, employees. They've got a strong interest and a strong assessment. The best way to obtain support or reduce obstacles with employees is simply to empower them. Empower them to foster beneficial change within the organization. Then appoint change leaders to drive positive change within all divisions of the company. Next, we have change planning and justification. Within this, we implement the change analysed in the previous section, building from the bottom up. Firstly, we assess innovation through Lewin's process model of change, legislation through Galbraith's STAR model, and managerial reform through Cotter's 8-step process. Lewin's process model of change consists of 3 stages: unfreezing, changing, and refreezing. Unfreezing involves unfreezing, just changing Uber's current practices that produce a high revenue and disregard market share. Uber need to focus more on attaining a bigger market share rather than having a high profit, because their peak period revenue creates a blanket effect across the industry, which favors their competitors sometimes, and they need to steer away from that. In addition, they need to incorporate an organizational learning structure that looks more at market share and current market trends rather than what they're doing and leading. Changing. Uber need to develop a profitable system of consistent pricing. They need to monitor the effects on driver compensation in peak periods, and they need to implement a higher cost structure. Freezing. The process of freezing requires Uber to apply these concepts and business practices to establish a dominant share of the market and generate more revenue through lower service price with a larger customer base. Galbraith's STAR model. This STAR model assesses and implements legislation within Uber. So within the legislation, we've got firstly strategy. Uber need to establish the company's specific direction and implement policy behind it. Uber need to slightly change their strategy around the world to account for the local consumer in where the local need is. Structure. The structure of Uber ultimately decides the position of power and organizational authority. Local authorities should be able to modify according to local need while keeping company interest. Processes. It's very important that the knowledge and decision-making processes are split around the structure of Uber. If development of coordinating mechanisms are left to chance, gridlock can occur, which can lead to lack of collaboration across boundaries. Reward systems. The aim of the reward system is to coordinate the individual employee interests with the organizational goals. It offers encouragement and stimulation to complete the strategic direction. People practices. Uber need to regulate the recruitment, allocation, and preparation of human resource policies locally with applicable legislation. Local human resource strategy will generate the expertise necessary for Uber to accomplish their ultimate organizational goal or vision statement. Cotter's 8-step process. This builds on the stakeholder analysis and drives key themes from the stakeholder analysis to highlight barriers for change. For example, communication, involvement, and partnerships. Step 1. Create a sense of urgency. Management must consider the threats facing the business, competition, and lawsuits. Upon recognizing these threats, an opportunity can be found. An open dialogue should be created, for example, an in-app poll to drivers to empower all stakeholders. Step 2. Build a guiding coalition. Have other visible company members behind your vision. Select the correct individuals within Uber and utilize them as per their strengths. Ensure that the team is diverse as possible. For example, a mix of everyday drivers and executive team. 3. Form a strategic vision and initiatives. Identify the core values embodied in change, develop a mission statement, create a logical strategy to promote change, and then ensure all members of the coalition can communicate the vision clearly, rehearse the mission. 4. Enlist a volunteer army. Coalition must speak convincingly and persuasively about the vision. Share visuals created in Step 3 to define the difference before and after the change. Listen to stakeholders' concerns in a public, genuine manner, for example, question opportunities at company-wide meetings. 5. Enable action by removing barriers. Utilize stakeholder analysis to find and eliminate barriers within the business. Ensure that those who support and proactively implement the change are rewarded. For example, rewarding drivers for cooperating with a bonus may assist in promoting change. 6. Generate short-term wins. Short-term projects to promote change that involve the correct people and target can have a massive impact on a company's morale. Track progress and ensure those who meet targets are rewarded. For example, track driver safety metric system. 7. Sustain acceleration. Building on each win, a more ambitious goal or target should be implemented to build momentum. Appoint an external change agent or internal influential stakeholder, for example, external consultant addressing change within Uber. And finally, institute change. Change must be firmly embedded within company culture. Share success stories to the wider business and continue rewarding those who successfully perform at a high standard after the change. The core values of your change must be instilled in every new hire through your orientation process. For example, publicize wins through all company networks. Overall, all these factors bring in to present to you Uber One Ride, the Innovation and Involvement Initiative, a bottom-up plan that analyzes, implements, and solves the key issues within Uber from the bottom up. Thank you.